Do you feel the pressure to grow your business, but doing so feels a bit like drowning? Welcome to Slow Growth Business, the show for business owners and leaders to quiet the noise and lead your business to success, one day at a time, slow and steady. If you feel your business is running you and you're ready to run it, you've come to the right place. Now, here are your hosts, business coaches Jimmy DeGroat and me, Kyle Bullock.
Welcome, folks, to the Slow Growth Podcast. This is sponsored by Train Retail. And Train Retail, in a nutshell, it's a website to train your retail teams, both on the sales floor and on the management and leadership ownership side. So,
for those who haven't been there, you can go to trainretail.com or trainretailmanagement.com. We got free content for you. If you want to see what we do on a weekly basis for our clients all over the world, helping deliver training through sales and management, you can go there. We've got a whole bunch of free stuff at your disposal. And if you love it, you can start and stop it anytime. And,
and if you want to try it out for 30 days, you can use a coupon code free month. No caps, all one word, free month. FREEMONTH. So use that as a coupon code. Give it a try. Hey, and if you don't feel it's a great value, you can cancel after a month. No worries. Nothing's going to get charged. I think you're going to find an amazing value. Hey, enough of that. What are we talking about today?
Well, I've got one for you, Jimmy. And we're going to get like practical with this one.
All right.
And I got to tap into your marketing mind because it was brought to my attention this week, partly through a client, that we were talking about marketing. And I was thinking about our Slow Growth Business podcast and how slow growth businesses will market differently than those who are trying to be super aggressive. And the ones that are out there trying to be super aggressive and in your face, you'll see them all over social media. You know, here's how you get your followers. Here's all the videos you got to produce. Here's the content you got to have on a daily basis. Get it out, get it out, get it out. And I hear retailers, and I know you do too, all the time going, okay, do I need to hire somebody to do just all my social? How do I do social? How do I speak to the next generation? Right. So the question this week that I want us to hang out on is specifically about slow growth businesses and social media. How does a slow growth business take the slow and steady approach, ignore the noise, and focus on what they do best, specifically on social media? How do you market on social media as a slow growth business?
Right before we hit record on this thing, you and I were talking about going down rabbit holes on YouTube, for example. And I'm a musician. You're a musician as well. I love this band called Dirty Loops, Dirty Loops. They're just really funky. They're amazing, incredible musicians. They were talking recently with Rick Beato about, we should figure out how to do this. But yet they were one of the first YouTubing bands. The moral was simply amazing content. We should talk. What do we got? I think we got some pretty darn good content. Our viewership right now, as you're watching this, is maybe 100. Okay. It's pretty low, and we're going to slow grow, just like our podcast name. And so the key for Dirty Loops was amazing content. They were so incredible that people started sharing it like crazy. All of a sudden, thousands of views, all of a sudden, millions of views, and then come millions of subscribers. Then you have people that subscribe. For example, on our channel right now, our YouTube channel, we have 2,000 people plus subscribed to our channel. And so that gives us an opportunity to show up in front of people, 2,000 people on a regular basis, those who are subscribed. And then it's, what do we give them every single time? Do we give them an ad? Do we give them boring talk that's not meaty and no content? Do we give them a cliche, or do we give them great stuff? And so I think that's one of the things I've learned, and I am not a pro at this at all, but the biggest thing I've learned is that it's all about content. You could be doing a handheld camera phone video, but if your content is incredible, you're going to get followers and eventually customers from that.
And if you think about like the clients that we work with one-on-one, how important really is social media to their business versus how important they think that social media is to their business.
This is I know you know the answer to this question.
I
Thanks
do.
for leading me into it. You and I were watching a video a couple weeks ago on YouTube, and the lady in the video, do you remember what the name of it was?
Ooh, quiet marketing as the theme.
Quiet marketing. Yeah, quiet marketing. So she's a smart gal. Anyway, she was talking about marketing and talking to your email subscribers. And these are people that are at least fans of you and know you. And I would say the same thing for your YouTube subscribers. But here's the thing. She said social media marketing is like throwing pamphlets at cars out on the freeway. Right?
Yeah.
I love that analogy. And when I told you that analogy on a Friday night before we're going to go to dinner with our wives, we're just like, yes, this is how we got to do this. I love that. Social media marketing is like throwing pamphlets at cars going by on the freeway.
And you know what? I've used that analogy so many times. I thought about it intuitively, and for years, so I'll tell a story on myself. And for years, I had somebody dedicated in the business to doing social media postings. Now, they did other things, like they were doing other marketing and sales things, but they did social media posting on a daily or at least several times a week basis. So they're creating original content. They're creating the original artwork. They're sometimes doing videos, etc. And they're putting it on our social media pages for my jewelry store company. Now, I see this video and I think about the analogy of throwing pamphlets at cars. And I thought that's what it feels like. It feels like maybe you'll get lucky. It lands face up on somebody's windshield. Right. And they go, oh, look, they threw a pamphlet. And then they turn the windshield wipers on and it goes, and it flies back off into traffic. So I told them, okay, I want you to suspend all social media posting for just a minute. Don't the amount of time you're spending every week creating original content, just stop. Let's take a step back and see what happens. I got this look of resistance, like, oh my gosh, what would happen if we stopped feeding the social media machine? It might come after us. We can't stop posting. Okay, so we convinced everybody, stop posting. And you know what happened?
Nothing.
Nothing happened. Nothing. No one said anything. The traffic didn't change. It didn't improve. It didn't decrease. And you know what that says? It doesn't matter.
Right.
And this is a hard truth because a lot of great content for growing businesses right now is being fed and shared through social media. There's Facebook groups and Instagram accounts and LinkedIn, all kinds of great information is being shared on social media, which makes us think that if I'm not on social media using it for my business, then it's not effective or I'm not being effective. I have to be in the space. But if you stopped using the space and your business continues to do just as good as it did before, then it says that the space was pretty well not useful to begin with.
Or you were using it wrong.
Yeah.
I've got a good friend up in Lockport, New York, George Fritz at Mills Jewelers, and he will post, hey, I'm walking with my dad today, when his dad was alive. He was talking, he would post things about that. He would post things about the concrete parking structure right next to the store being torn down, and they would have a huge party. Their social media posts were social, and they were the things that friends say to each other. And I would think that his and George Poe down at Whitestone Jewelry down in Texas, those people that are using social media posts to be social and to share the love with their friends, that's the stuff that works. Now, is it commercially viable? Yeah. I mean, I think people are eventually going to look at that and say, you know what? I like that guy or I like that gal. I want to go and do business with them. I want to give them money. Now, you and I come from the jewelry world. How many jewelers post a picture of somebody's finger with a ring on it? Like, I'm showing you right now on this Zoom camera. And they say, what do you think? Nobody cares about that. That's the flyer I want to go flying off my windshield. We're trying to use social media to advertise, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be used that way.
Right. And people complain about social media being nonsense every day, and they're complaining about it ironically on social media, right? And you can free yourself because you don't need it. I really think social media, this is the grumpy old man in me. I think it's the greatest addictive substance that we're facing right now
Yeah, and of course.
in the West. I mean, it's just so addictive and destructive. And we
Yeah.
all say, I can live without it. But then push comes to shove. What if you actually did live without it? So I'm going to share a story with our listeners, and maybe I've shared this with you, Jimmy, but it's one of these stories that inspired me very, very early on in my career about the kind of business I wanted to start and run. And I think I've only recently come back to it after having worked with you. I feel like I'm actually getting to this point. And the story is, I was getting my undergraduate, going into my graduate degree for leadership and organizational studies. And I meet in a chance encounter, I get to have a sit down conversation with the leading business psychologist consultant in the business. He had consulted for major Fortune 500 companies, well sought after. And so I got to sit at this guy's feet, basically a one-on-one, and ask him questions about how do I get into consulting? How do I help people, etc. And he pulls out his business card. And I promise I'm going somewhere with this on social media.
All right. Yeah.
He pulls out his business card, and on his business card, he says his name, what he does, and a phone number. That's it. He had no email. He had no website. He had no yellow pages. He'd never advertised a day in his life.
Mm.
And he's a leading consultant in this field. And he said, I'll never forget, he goes, I didn't want any of those things. I don't advertise, because he said I had a basic principle. He started in the 80s. He had a landline telephone in his little apartment, in his one-bedroom apartment. And when the phone rang, it was a client calling for him. He would answer the phone and he would go do the job. And he said, if I did a good job, I would say, if I did a really, really good job, then they would tell somebody else and my reputation would precede me and the phone would keep ringing.
Sure.
And he said, if the phone ever stopped ringing, then I knew that I wasn't doing a good job and I needed to change what my approach was. So his work spoke for himself. And he built an entire career in leading the industry on a landline telephone that he was still using. This was back 10 or 15 years ago, 15,
Right.
20 years ago now. My point to our listeners with social media is this. Social media is just that. It's social, and it's not necessary. It's a tool. But there are plenty of people out there building businesses, even still, who aren't on social media, who don't have an account, who may not even have an email, but they've found whatever tool that they use well to deliver their content and their message, and they're using it over and over with success. Just because someone else is using that tool doesn't mean you have to as well.
Right.
And I think when it comes to your content, it reflects the work that you put out. Do you want your work to precede you? I hope so.
Mhm.
And if so, does Facebook really feature your work the best way possible?
Right.
Or is there another medium that does that? Right. So I would hope that slow growth businesses can free themselves up a little bit to realize you don't need to be master of all of the tools. Just one or two will do. And
Mhm.
be really great at that, as long as it reflects your content, what you produce as a business on a regular basis.
I'm going to add to that with one little simple little exercise. If you want to know how and what works on social media, think about the things that stop your scroll. Okay. I have very, very specific rabbit holes that I love to go down that are very detailed. Some of it's music production, some of it's motivationally speaking. Anyway, but whatever it is, whatever stops your scroll and you find and look at, and let's say it ends up being a TED Talk. That's, for me, that I do that a lot. So I end up spending 8, 10, 12 minutes on it, looking at it, really digesting. And if you're scrolling and swiping and it means nothing to you, well, just use that stuff as examples of what you should not do. And use the things that stop you and interest you as the things that maybe you should do. And that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing right now. This is long form content that you and I are doing And we've decided to do it because the first time we did this, we both called each other and said, that felt better than anything we've done in the last 5 years, and you and I have been working together for 5 years, but we just 1 year now. And as soon as we've kind of felt that and gelled on that, boom, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then also, the feedback that you and I have gotten working with some clients is, this is incredible. We love this. We want to keep doing it. We need you guys in our lives. Okay. Now we're right at the heart of what you and I should be doing. And it's not throwing pamphlets at cars in the highway.
Yeah. Funny enough, we were not, I kind of like, I don't want to do another podcast. I'd been down that road. And then we did it and I go, no, that felt right. And one of the things that made me, I think, convinced me to go, let's do this podcast thing, was that we both understood, we had a conversation that if we get 100,000 listeners or 100 listeners, it really doesn't matter. It matters to us that we're talking to the right people.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's so true about social media. It's something you taught me and really instilled in me, which was 100 people or even 10 people who are genuinely interested and want your services can build a business. You don't need 100,000. And if you look at your social following for whatever it is that you do, you don't need 100,000 followers. You need 1 million followers. Maybe you can get that and it would be super. But you can build a business on 100 people who show up every week, 10 people every week who love you for what you do because it's your passion and you do it well. You know what all of this reminds me of? There's an example for those who are listening. You've shared some examples of great social media. And as you were sharing about good social media practice for slow growth, there's a guy that I will reference. He has an Instagram account. He's a dear friend of mine. His name is Kim Wiggins. Kim is an artist. He's a painter. He lives here in New Mexico. Kim does these incredible, huge paintings of the Southwest in a Van Gogh style.
I'm looking at him right now.
Yeah. Imagine Van Gogh meets Peter Hurd if you're artist fans and it had a child. That's Kim Wiggins. So
Steamboat Art Museum?
Yeah. This guy has featured art all over the world. Okay. He actually at one point had his pieces featured in the Staples Center in Los Angeles. His social media page is him just showing bits of him painting or just him explaining a theory on why he did something. And I will say that Kim's probably not the most, like he's not the host of a TV show kind of personality. He's fine on camera, but he's not going to be your radio DJ, highly polished, produced kind of image of social media. But
no one wants that.
No, because he's so genuine. What you see on Kim talking on the videos is actually Kim. I've actually been in a studio and watched him work, and that's him. And people find it so fascinating. It's to the point where he's got this huge little following of people who will follow him all over the Southwest to his art shows. I think he's got one coming up in Arizona. And he does fantastic business letting people know who he is, but he's just on this one thing.
Yeah.
Great example of how you don't need to be a movie star, Instagram, Facebook influencer. You just got to be you.
Right.
Talking about what you do best. And people will start to see your authenticity and genuineness and go, there's something there I like.
Sure. Absolutely. I don't want to disparage people that are in the business of creating social media for businesses because they do a great job. But I just know this, that the most heavily watched things are very sincere things. And just look at the most heavily watched things and ask yourself, why am I watching this? And why is it important to me? Why did I stop on this? And I think that'll help answer a lot of things about how you should or should not be doing social media.
So there you go, everybody. There's some ideas. Those are our thoughts on what a slow growth business does when they approach social media. Less is more. Be yourself and
be real.
Be real. Talk to people because people are looking for realness, and you don't have to be on every platform to do it. Just the one that helps you be your authentic self, doing your great work, whatever it is, on a regular basis. We hope you leave this episode a little better than when you first began. If you'd like more resources to grow your business slow, steady, and consistently, check out our on-demand video catalog at trainretail.com. Or if you have a question or frustration we can help address in your business, write to us about it. We love to help solve big, ugly problems. So hit us up at kyle@trainretail.com or jimmy@trainretail.com. Good luck out there, and we will see you next time.